back to the channel. Bit of a different video today. As you can see, I'm on a bike, which I think this is the first time a push bike has ever been featured on the channel. I'm having a few problems trying to get some content done at the moment. Every time I try and head out, I usually get thwarted by the weather. Tonight I was going to head out on this bike and do an overnight wild camp in some woodlands, but I don't know if the camera's picking up the sound of the wind, but it's horrendous, you know, 35-40 miles an hour winds and heavy rain during the night, which I'm not bothered about the rain. I don't want to sleep in a woodland with high winds. It's a bit risky, so I thought I'd just come out on the bike, have a ride, make a cup of coffee, and I'll tell you a bit about the bike actually, because it's an old bike that I've recently reconditioned. So I'm going to press on and see where we get to. So I've just pulled into a little village on the outskirts of York called Skelton. Lovely little place. I'll just give you a look around. Lovely old Defender there, look at that. There's an old church there as well. The old part of Skelton, really picturesque. There's a lot of new build houses if you head further towards York, but this area is lovely. Proper old little English village. Don't know if you can make that big black cloud out behind me. It's blowing in this direction. There are some showers forecast for today. I'm pretty sure that's going to catch up with me. So yeah, the bike that I'm riding, I bought it in 2009, just before we moved up to the Scottish Highlands. We used to live between Invergordon and Tane, along the A9, if anyone knows that area. And I bought this so I could just get out in the evenings and do a bit of cycling. So I used it for about a year. I mean, I don't know how many miles I put on it, a fair few thousand. And then when we moved back to York, it just sat in the garage for a few years. Now I gave it to my brother, and it sat in his garage for a few years. It was all seized up, everything was rusty. But when I went to visit my brother just before Christmas, it was in his garage. So I just chucked it in the back of the truck, and I thought, you know what, I'll try and revive it. So I have done, and I have to say it rides better now than what it did when I bought it. So what I wanted to do with the bike was just kind of get out and do some, I think they call them front door adventures, where you don't have to worry about driving anywhere or leaving the car overnight or any of that kind of stuff. I wanted to be able to just load a bike up with some camping gear and some supplies, just head out my front door, you know, in the summer months, and just cycle for a few days and find places to camp. I mean, England's a crowded country, but there's plenty of little lanes like this that you can identify on the map and just plan a route and get away from everyone. Yeah, the scenery's not fantastic, it's largely farmland at the minute, but just a few miles north and we get into the North Yorkshire Moors National Park, which is it's a beautiful area of the country. We've arrived at Bohemia. So the tarmac is gone, so we're now off-road. We're having to swerve the potholes here. I've only got road tyres on, 32mm. Feel every little bump and every stone. Cuby. Nice little place actually. There's a pub here, Cantonese restaurant, fish and chip shop, and then a lot of the houses have the little boxes outside where you can buy eggs and jam and that sort of stuff. So I've come into the woodland that I saw on the map. Now this is a public footpath, but it's also got loads of private land signs as well, so I don't think it's open access land or Forestry Commission or anything like that. But we'll just continue on down this path. We are off-road again. Just give you a look. I'll see if I can find somewhere and just get in and make a cup of coffee. Brew time. Nice little forest this. It's a shame it's not Forestry Commission. Be a nice little spot to come and hammock camp one evening. Oh, it's not too bad. So I'll give you a look at the bicycle then. The adventure bike. It's a Dawes Vantage. It was an entry-level touring bike that was made between 2008 and 2010, I think. Dawes used to make bikes in England, in the Midlands I believe, but they moved production over to the Far East at the turn of the century. And this bike, yeah, it wasn't great. The frame's alright, but I'll just show you what I've done to it. I basically had to switch out all of the drivetrain, the pedals, the front derailleur, the rear derailleur, the cogs, the bottom brackets. It needed a new rear wheel, so all that was changed. The front wheel's still alright. I had to put new pedals on, and I fitted, there was a rack already on it, but I fitted some of these low riders. I've got some bags to go on the front. Put a couple of extra bottle racks in there, so that's the bottom half of the bike. Now the handlebar, it did originally have drop bars on it and those dodgy like brake stroke shifters, and I just never really got on with it. I didn't like the riding position or anything, so I switched it out for these butterfly touring bars, and I got a slightly shorter, taller stem, and yeah, it's much more comfortable. I put these rubber grips on, and then I had to obviously get new gear shifters and brake levers, new brake cables and all that, and gear cables. I fitted some new brakes to the back, and it's all working brilliantly. It's actually better now than what it was when I first bought it. And I've got a full set of these Oatly classic panniers, which are pretty expensive, but I'm really pleased with the quality. So I've got another one for on the back, and then I've got two smaller ones for the front, and then I've got the handlebar bag. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. I'll be honest, the gears do kind of still grind a little bit, and there is the odd noise coming from you know, the drivetrain. But I don't know, I'm not too fussed. It'll do the job. So the total cost of the refurbishment was around £300, which was probably more than I was expecting to pay, but just switching out the drop bars and getting all the brake levers and gear levers, that in itself cost £100. And then I put a pair of Schwalbe Marathon Plus tyres on. Now they're the ones that have the increased puncture resistance. I think they were about £60 for a pair, so that's what a lot of the money went on. But I upgraded most of the stuff. I've just got the middle of the road Shimano gear, what's it called, the Altus or something like that, which is an upgrade to what came on the bike originally. But yeah, it's so far so good. So I've been struggling really to kind of get any content out on my YouTube channel recently. Well, this year, like I said, I was going to go out camping tonight on the bike, but the winds are just too high to be sleeping in a forest. So I just knocked it on the head. That's why I'm just out for this short ride. But a couple of weeks ago, I went to the Lake District with my friends, and we were going to camp up on haystacks. We went via Fleetwith Edge. We were going to go over Fleetwith Pike and then visit the bothies that are over there. Now the weather report said there would be some snow showers, but when we got there the weather was horrendous. Really high winds and pretty serious snow. And we were completely underprepared. We didn't have any eye protection. Only one of the group had an ice axe. No one had any micro spikes, and it was getting really slippy underfoot. So we got just underneath the summit of Fleetwith Pike, and we decided to pull the plug on the trip. We came back down the other way. We did have a wander around the valley beneath to see if we could find somewhere to camp, but it wasn't suitable, so we ended up just bailing to a campsite where we booked ourselves into a bunkhouse and just spent the evening in the pub. So it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't a complete disaster, but we didn't get to do any wild camping, and I didn't get to film anything, just a few clips which you've just seen. But yeah, last week we went to the woods, me and Tris, and I was going to cook up a campfire curry, but when I got there, the tarp that I'd rigged up the week earlier had come down in the rain and the wind. So I spent about 2 hours trying to sort that out, and then it was too late to do any filming. So yeah, it's not going to plan so far this year. I think this will be my second video. So yeah, I'll have to get my act together, I think. So I've really been enjoying getting out and about on this bike over the past few weeks since I finished it. But I cycle all the time because I live in the city of York, which is a cycle friendly place. So my main mode of transport is the bicycle, but not this one. I've got a Dutch cargo bike that I use to get all my shopping in, and if I've got to go across town I'll use that, or go to the pub. I mean, I never drive through town. It's just way easier to go by bicycle. But that's a beast of a bike. You can't really ride it outside of the city. It's very heavy and can't go very fast at all. But the Gazelle bikes are brilliant. It's the second one I've owned. I bought one around 20 years ago, and I just ran it into the ground. It's a lovely steel framed 3-speed city bike. It's currently in my back garden. Trish kind of converted it into a little kind of like ornament with hanging baskets off it and stuff. But it just felt the bits one day. I'd used it so much and hadn't really looked after it. It just died. The new one's pretty good. Alloy frame, big front rack on. You can get a crate of beer on there. I've got a Swedish LK35 backpack as a pannier on it. So yeah, the bicycle. But that's definitely a utilitarian bicycle, just for transport, getting around, that kind of stuff. You couldn't take it on a long ride, it'd do you in. So we're almost back on the road now. Gonna get my head down into this wind. Don't know how long it'll take us to get back home. Probably about an hour, I reckon. Maybe it's an hour and a half. So I'm finding these butterfly trekking bars really versatile. I mean, when you've got the wind on your back, you can keep your hands here on these rubber grips. Now I had to put these rubber grips on because originally I had this foam on, and I was getting really kind of tingly hands, you know, there wasn't a lot of cushioning, but these rubber grips, they're perfect. So when the conditions are great, you can just sit upright like this, really comfortable, and obviously you can move your hand around on this section And then just there when I was going into the wind, you know, you can lean forward, grab this top bit and crouch into the wind a little bit. So very comfortable, very versatile, way better than having drop bars in my opinion. But I'm really looking forward to getting out and doing an overnighter on the bike. It's weird because I've always ridden a bike. Like my parents, growing up, we didn't have a car. They still don't have a car. So you had to cycle or walk everywhere. And I still see a car as a luxury, you know. I rarely drive mine unless I'm going long distance. So yeah, so it's a bit weird. I've had a bike for so long, pretty much ride one every day, but I've just never got around to camping on one. But I've been watching tons of videos on YouTube of people who go around the world for years on end. Oh, fascinating. Oh, what a dream. Thing is, I was lucky enough to do loads of travelling when I was younger. I went interrailing around Europe for a month, and I went backpacking around Morocco. And I spent 3.5 months in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam and Cambodia, Thailand and Laos or Laos. I never know how to pronounce that country. Then I went to India, up into the Himalayas, Dharamsala, up to Leh and places like that. But it just never crossed my mind to do any bicycle touring. I don't know why. It just makes sense really, doesn't it? I mean, you can pick up a bike, you know, for not a lot of cash. I noticed one of these, a Dawes Vantage, was on eBay the other day for 150 quid. It looked in pretty good nick as well. But I guess you could buy an old 1990s mountain bike, steel frame, and just refurbish them for a couple of £100, or a hybrid bike or something like that. It's the panniers, if you want these alt lead jobbies, that cost quite a bit. I think the full set I've got something like, was it £290 or something I've paid for it all, so they are expensive. But all these round the world cyclists, they use them and they seem to have a good reputation, so they should be a good investment, hopefully. Well guys, I've crossed the A19 and I'm back on the Susteren 65 track, which is taking me alongside the River Ouse and then into the city of York, and then I can just cycle home. So yeah, I think it's time to sign off. So a bit of a different video, probably not that great, but hopefully in the weeks to come, when the weather improves, I'll be able to get out and do a proper overnighter on the adventure bicycle. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, as ever, thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you again in the next one.